Hello guys, I'm by the names of Lutaf Idris and I'm a software engineer at Islamic University in Uganda and at New Line Technologies Limited. I'm a software engineer and I pursued Bachelor's of Science in Computer Science. That's when I started to get the passion of programming. Programming is really nice and it has a lot of applications according to the day-to-day life. Today, I decided to come up with these short courses. You never know, you might pick up something which might be very useful in your code path. Today we are going to develop a short application called Food Menu App. This app called Food Menu App is basically going to focus on food. Most of us, we have been able to go and visit or go in places where food is served, for example, restaurants, etc., hotels, and so many others. So, food as an issue is not a new thing to our life today, and it's not a new thing to our chapter which we are tackling right now. So, I'm sure you are comfortable. Let us proceed and we see what is going next. What are the requirements? What are the requirements a developer should consider before beginning this series? We have to consider Android Studio as our first priority. I'm going to use Android Studio. Ensure that you have the latest version. You can go to Google and you try to Google that word Android Studio. Download what is necessary for Android Studio and ensure that it is installed well. I'm going to skip that part because there are lots of videos which are talking about that. Number 2, ensure that Visual Studio 2012 or higher is installed on your machine. But I will recommend you guys to use 2012 because it's more stable. On our code journey, you will see why I have said that Visual Studio is more stable. Visual Studio 2012 is going to help us to develop what we call APIs by the help of websites, and these APIs are the ones which we are going to use to connect into our applications. What is an API? An API is an application program interface. And what we call an application program interface is something which interconnects two components which cannot be able to reach each other. We are going to see that in our next series, but try to also search more about what is an API. 3, ensure that you have installed MySQL plus MySQL connectors as well. MySQL is a database which is going to enable us to store values, and MySQL connector is going to allow Visual Studio to connect to MySQL. So these two components are going to be connecting or interacting to one another. Rule number 4, ensure that you have enabled what we call IIS in your Windows machine. I suggest the users on this video make sure that you are using a Windows machine. Do not use Mac, do not use Ubuntu, because this feature is only in Windows. It's from Microsoft. And IIS is known as Internet Information Services. What are we going to cover in this series? We are going to cover the following: retrieving food menu list, adding food menu list, updating food menu list, searching food menu list, and as well as deleting the food menu list. And I have hope and I believe that by the end of this series you will be able to come up with something new, because there are lots of techniques which are going to be learned in this series. If you are a beginner, what should you do in this series? Well, my answer is don't be scared, don't get worried. This is going to be an easy, precise lecture which is going to give you all the fundamentals which have to be put in place to ensure you as a good developer. Enjoy the series. So let us go and we start to develop our simple application.